people think silence is empty. They think it's nothing. But silence is only what's left when sound hasn't arrived yet. My son taught me that. Danny was born deaf. Not partially, not technically, completely. From the moment he entered this world, sound simply did not exist for him. Doctors explained it gently, with charts and soft voices meant for me, not him. They said his brain would adapt. They said children are resilient. They said many things that were supposed to make the future feel less frightening. They were wrong about one thing. Danny could still feel sound. Even as a baby, he reacted to vibrations in ways that unsettled the therapists. He would hum back notes he shouldn't have known. Exact pitch, exact tone, not close, perfect. When they tested him, when they clapped or struck tuning forks against metal, Danny responded with eerie precision, reproducing frequencies his ears had never heard. They called it savant mimicry, a neurological compensation, a miracle with a footnote. When the experimental cochlear implant became available, I didn't hesitate. It wasn't just a hearing aid. It was something new, a neural link processor that interfaced directly with the auditory cortex. Sound converted into electrical language the brain could understand. The doctor smiled when he explained it. He used metaphors that felt harmless at the time. There may be some processing lag, he said. A few seconds, maybe longer at first, like a bad Bluetooth connection. The brain just needs to sync. He snapped his fingers. He hears this now, he said, but he might react a moment later. It'll pass. It didn't pass. It didn't lag. It led. The first time it happened, it felt small, ordinary. We were in the kitchen on a Tuesday afternoon, the kind of day that doesn't get remembered. Danny was coloring at the table, his head bent low over a green dinosaur with too many teeth. The house was quiet, comfortably quiet. Then Danny stopped coloring. He lifted his head slowly like he was listening to something far away. His eyes shifted upward toward the ceiling, and then he made a sound. Thump, scrape. The sound was flawless. The weight, the texture, the movement. I laughed nervously and asked him what that was. He didn't answer. He just pointed upward. 2 minutes later, the sound happened. Thump, scrape. Our upstairs neighbor dragged a chair across the floor. I remember staring at the clock. I remember the second hand ticking. I remember the way my stomach tightened as the realization settled in. Danny hadn't reacted late. He had reacted early. I didn't tell anyone at first. I tested it quietly, carefully, like I was afraid the phenomenon would notice me watching it. Danny mimicked the refrigerator compressor. 2 minutes later, the fridge turned on. He reproduced my phone's text chime. 2 minutes later, my screen lit up. It felt like peeking behind the curtain of reality, like hearing an echo before the sound was made. At first, it was fascinating. Then it became uncomfortable. Then it started predicting things that shouldn't have been predictable. That night, everything broke. It was 9:40 p.m. The house was still, the kind of stillness that makes every breath feel loud. I was reading. Danny was on the floor, building something out of Legos, completely absorbed. Then he froze. The red brick slipped from his fingers and hit the rug. His shoulders rose sharply, tense like his body was bracing for impact. He opened his mouth. The sound that came out of him didn't belong to a child. It was a sharp, violent crack like something splitting under pressure, immediately followed by a wet, heavy thud, the kind of sound that has weight to it. Finality, then silence. Then Danny screamed. But it wasn't his scream, it was mine. It came out of his mouth raw and broken, pitched so high it made my throat ache just hearing it. I heard myself begging, pleading, saying no over and over again in a voice I didn't recognize, but somehow knew was mine. My hands started shaking. I called his name, but he didn't look at me. He was staring straight ahead at the front door. Then came another sound. Chunk, chunk, chunk. A rhythmic, wet noise. Deliberate, like something being used again and again. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. My body refused to believe what my ears were telling me. Then Danny mimicked a siren, distant at first, then louder, closer. I looked at the clock. 9:41 p.m., less than a minute. I grabbed Danny's arm and told him we were leaving, now, immediately. My voice cracked. He didn't move. He was heavy in a way a child shouldn't be, like gravity had chosen him. He looked up at me. His eyes were wide and empty, like he was watching something already finished. Then he made the sound that ended all doubt. Click, clack. A shotgun slide. My shotgun, the one locked in the safe in the garage, the one only I had access to. Then I heard the garage door open a hum. Not from Danny, from the garage. I looked at the clock again, 9:42 p.m. The handle of the door leading into the garage began to turn. Danny covered his ears and squeezed his eyes shut. He didn't want to hear it again, because he already had. They found us alive. Somehow. They never found who broke in. The implant was removed, destroyed, classified as a malfunction. But sometimes, late at night, Danny still hums. And now he hums things that never happen. And I don't know if that means we're safe, or if the future has finally learned to stay quiet.